Okay, good evening, Chava. Tonight is the 39th night of the Omer, and we're up to Daf Lamed Zayin. We're really Lamed Vamam Beis, Mamash the bottom. And with Hashem's help, we will get to Lamed Chesam and Aleph, the bottom, so we'll be exactly a bottom and a half behind, and we will, as Hashem, finish still for sure, and if not, we won't. So we're in the middle of discussing, the Gemara just discussed, Yosef did, was Mechal Hashem Shemayim the Tzina, was a Lashon, and he was Zeicha to a extra hay in his name, and Yehuda was Mechal Hashem Shemayim B'Hesya, and he got the whole name basically. Yud K Vav and K and the Dalet in there. So what's the story of Yehuda? I always thought it was Yehuda of the story of Tamar, which is what I think there's another place that it said these Mechal Hashem Shemayim, but I'm referring to Tamar. But here we're referring to something else completely. Tanya Hayo Meir. When they stood by Kriyas Yamsuf and Moshe in his time, they were fighting with each other. I want to go first. Kafet Shivtesh Binyamin just got up and they went in. The Yard Liam Tchila Shenemar Sham Binyamin Tzar Roiden. It's talking about Binyamin, and we learn that Atikri Roidim Ela Rod Yam, referring to his going down to the water of the Kriyas Yamsuf, of the Yamsuf. Sorry, Yehuda Roigman, and the officers, the Chaver of Yehuda were pelting them with stones, I guess, in protest. Sorry, Yehuda Rigmasam. It says somewhere else that the officers of Yehuda were. Oh, that's the same passage. Sham ben Yamin Tzar Roidim. Sorry, Yehuda Rigmasam sorry, Zevulun, sorry, Naphtali. I'm not sure what the Gemara doesn't darshan that, but this is in Tehillim in Samachas Chav Hey. Chav Ches. Okay. Get to the point is that's the tushla between that whole pasuk that Yehuda tried to stop him. Fikach Zachar ben Yamin Tzadik Menasa Ushpezichan Megvura. We had the Kodesh Kodashim, the Aron Kodesh is in Binyamin's Chelek. So he was to that because of what he jumped into the ocean first. Now, really, what's a tushtal? I didn't see this anywhere, but that display of Hamuna warrants an extra siyat d'shmai, an extra shuris ashchina. Okay, that wasn't what happened. I don't want to go first. I don't want to go first. In other words, nobody wanted to go first. This is the story that we're more familiar with, right? From Yeshiva. From Yehuda, the Yored Liam Yachshman went in and he went into the ocean first, into the river, into the water first. Nemar Sevavuni Bechachash Ephraim Umirmas Beis Yisrael. Yehuda Oid Ram Imka, and Yehuda went in with Hashem. In other words, with Amuna, Yehuda jumped in. Sevavuni Bechachash Ephraim Umirmas Beis Yisrael. It means Ephraim was draining a cup and it wasn't being amazdik, wasn't really being a babatachan, and Yehuda is the one who jumped in. Why Ephraim gets singled out, I'm not sure, but Yehuda was the one who jumped in from Nachshon and Nadav. All Mefarish B'Kabbalah, and it's B'Kabbalah that he said these tefillas, Hashieni Elikim Kibo Mayim Ad Nafesh. Hashem helped me because the water got to my nafesh, in other words, my nose, because that's where the nafesh goes in, and after the nose, you can't breathe anymore, so it's a problem. He doesn't have any place to stand. He's in like a very murky, like mushy water. Don't let the waters wash me away, and don't let the ground swallow me up. While he was dealing with his near drowning experience, Moshe Rabbeinu was davening. It was davening. You're sitting as davening al Shmoneh, and you're and my action is drowning. You're davening in front of me. Okay. What are we supposed to do? Go. Tell the Chavit to go in and full speed ahead. You put your staff over the water and the water will split. Therefore, Yehuda became the king of the Eden. With Yehuda with his Kedusha, the extra Emunah, he became the Memshala. The next part of the pasuk is He went in with. So not like what I said. Why did he get this kedusha in? They should be Moshel in with Yisrael. The next part of the pasuk is Hayom Yanis is obviously in Hello. Tanya, Blazer ben Yaakov, in F Shalom Levi Lamata, EF Shalom Levi. So that's the end of the story of the Krisanza of the two Shittas and Krisanza. I never knew there was another side to the story, and here we have it in Lamed Zayin Amar Alf inside them. Tanya, Blazer ben Yaakov Omer, the Efsher Levi Lamata Shekvar Nevamata. We're going back to the Har Gizim Har Evel situation, that whole story. So you can't say Levi was on the mountain because we said he was in the middle. You can't say. You can't say he was on top because you can't say he was in the middle. You can't say he was on the bottom because it says he's on top. You can't say on top because already it says he's on the bottom. Okay, so notice you have two opposing psukim. Okay, like we explained the Mishnah outside. I mean, the Mishnah doesn't say beferish, but we explained it then that the sarim, the chash of Levi were in between the mountains, and most of Levi was on top of Har Grizim. Not all the chashuvim, just the ones that were ready to carry the aron, whatever that qualification was. Those were the ones who were down there. They had to be a certain age. I don't remember I don't remember any of the requirements, but I'm assuming that to do any of that avodah, you had to be between 20 and 50 or 20 and 60. But the chashuvim, according to Elazar ben Yaakov, would be, let's say, the much older side, like the dayanim and the rabbanim. That would be, I think, the nafkamina between them. Everybody stood in the middle. He's not going on the Levim and the Sar Levim. He's going on the whole Klal Yisrael. The whole Klal Yisrael stood in between Har Evel and Har Grizim, and they turned and they gave a bracha, they turned and they gave a klala. So we're going to see in a second how that makes any sense. But so interesting. I actually got Chamishi this Shabbos as an aliyah, and that's the klalas of the Chukaisai. The minhag in our shul in the church on Grandview over here is that they give you Chamishi, they lay in 3 psukim. So I got the first 3 psukim, which is like all the good stuff. Then you make a noch bracha, right? You make a bracha after aliyah, and then without any commotion, the Balkari just starts laning, and he lanes the whole teichacha quietly, like come out to himself, and then they do the next aliyah, they do shishi like nothing happened. Very interesting. But that was my aliyah the Shabbos. So I got the teichacha with only the good part, only the brachas, only the open brachas. According to the Balatani, the whole thing is brachas, but that's above my pay grade. Fine. So what does he do? So my al. What about al? So what do you do with the pasuk al? It says they went al hagrizim, al ha'ever, right? What's the pasuk test? Like Hashem lekech al asher tabai shamal rishto nisata es habracha al hagrizim the es hakola al ha'ever. So it says that the brachas were on ha'ever, on hagrizim. Al means al b'samach, means next to it. Tiny v'nasata es hamareches levayna zaka. Put the marachas levayna zakat by the bezichin, by the, I think it's the lechem apanim. Rabbi Omer al b'samach. It doesn't mean on mamash. It means next to it. Ata Omer al b'samach ena ela al mamash. Who said? Over there, how do you know that it's al mamash? Or that it's al b'samach? Maybe it's al mamash. Kashu Omer b'sakaisa al ha'arayin. We should cover the arayin. Have the Omer al b'samach. You're talking about the paraychis. You're not talking about, you don't cover the paraychis like you don't put it in a blanket. You don't wrap the arayin in the paraychis. You have it in front of the paraychis. So what does that mean? What's covering al the paraychis, al arayin means that it is samach, which is, it still covers it from your eyes. That does what it's supposed to do, but it's not on mamash. So the Gemara Vayter. So that's how Rabbi's miyash of his al problem, and that's how he deals with the whole who's on which mountain. And there's other problems because hachetziyai is, I guess the way you would say hachetziyai would still have the other. Okay, I guess. In other words, and the division of the Klal Yisrael would be that one half is closer to Har Grizim and one half is closer to Har Evel. That's how I didn't see that. Maybe Rashi says it, but I did not see it inside the Lachar. That would be the Pasha that they get split up, so there has to be some split. Halchu paneim klape Har Grizim and Pasuk Bracha Tan Rabbanan. Right, here's some math. We'll figure that out. Yeah. Bracha b'klal, bracha b'prat, or b'klal, or b'prat. So there's four concepts over here. There's a every there's a klal. He's like a Rashi says it very clearly. Hold on. Kol habrachas haklal is never bahar grizim bahar evo b'chlal b'prat. Baruch asher yokem as divrei haTorah hazois or asher lo yokem. Right. That's how I b'chlal. That's in general. Blessed is the guy who does this whole Torah in general. And then then it specifies each one of the clauses separately. Baruch v'oror, Baruch asher lo yaseh pesel masa u'masecha, or asher yaseh pesel masecha. It goes to each one. So again, each pasuk. In other words, the idea over here is that this pesel, let's say the first example, is mentioned twice. Once befrat and once as part of the cloud. Right? That's the side of it. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Bracha, Baruch b'klal, Baruch b'prat, or b'klal, or b'prat. So we have four ideas, right? Klal b'prat, bracha klal. Lumad lamed, lishma v'lasais, harei arba. Lumad to learn, lamed to teach, lishma to do. I guess it's interesting because I wouldn't say lishma and lasais apply to the same halacha, right? We said lishma is a leisasei, lasais is a asay, but maybe each part is okay. The Gemara is saying over here that it's four brisim, four commandments, really, or for the Gemara uses the lashon bris, so we'll just stick with that. So we have like this: you have four, you have right. So arba ba'arba harei shmaina, shmaina harei sheshes. So you have 16 brisim between each 16 brisim at this for each mitzvah at this union, at this whole production of Har Gizim Har Evel, right? How is each one 16? Each one is, for each mitzvah, you have a klal, it's involved in the klal, it's involved in the prat, it's a bracha and it's a klala, and then each one of those is lumen lam lishma lasis. So it's 4 times 4. The Gemara breaks it down a little differently. Let's do it the way the Gemara does it. Harei arba again. Lumen lam lishma lasis harei arba. Arba v'arba harei shmeina. So you have 4 and 4 is why do you have 4? What's Rashi saying 4 and 4? Arba brises lumen v'arba lame harei shmeina. Shmeina harei ikka oit shmeina lishma lasis. You have another 8 of lishma lasis. You have kitzi. You have 16. V'chein b'Sinai v'chein ba'aravais ba'arvas mayev. Shenemar elu divrei habris asher tziva Hashem es Moshe v'ksiv b'shmartim es divrei habris hazais. So you see this lashon repeats itself. So we say that it was done 3 times. Nimtza memches 16 times 3 is 48. Memches bris is a kol mitzvah. There's 48 brisas, whatever that means, whatever a bris means, a covenant really, but like I don't know what that like tachlis what that means. On each mitzvah. Shem might see har grizim var evo umachas oyel mayit shel midbar. He switches it out. Okay, ubepukta. We're middle of. We're stopping this train of thought for a second. Ubepukta the hani tanai the Tanya of Shmuel Omer. This machlekes of Rebbe and of Shimon. Who's not Rebbe and Shimon? The Tanakama. It doesn't say a name. Unless I mix it up over here. Don't know about it. No. Fine. Yeah, there's no name. Fine. There's no name. That's Tanakama. And Rabbi Shimon might say it's Hagriz Maharivel Umachnes Ayal Mayit Shimon. So the machlekes in this brisa so far is that whether you count Har Evo, Grizim and Evo, or you count the Ayal Mayit and Midbar. We put to the Tani tonight. The Tanya of Shmuel Omer, Chalolais Nemru B'Sinai Upratis B'Ayal Mayit. The kolis was said at Sinai, and the pratis was said. It wasn't said. Each one wasn't said. They weren't both said in both places. And keep Aimer kolis the pratis now Sinai v'nisu v'nishnu ba'yamayim. And it was repeated again ba'yamayim v'nishtal sheba arvis mayim. And it was repeated again in arvis mayim. Ve'in lecha davar ve'in lecha kol davar mitzvah shechas v'tayra shalai nichrusu aleh arba or shmayna brisas. So therefore, you have 48 brisas for each Torah according to Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda ish kvar akoy. So this is continuing the brayse that we said before. Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda ish kvar akoy amar Shimon ein lecha mitzvah sheksuva v'tayra shenichasu aleh arba'am u'shmayim krisis shal sheish meyas elef v'shleish alafim v'chamesh meyas v'chamishim. This 600,000, 3,000. 1 second. Sheish meis of 600,000, v'shloishes alafim, and 3,000, v'chamish meis, and 503,050. 503,050. Yeah. So that's the number of actual people that went out. When we say 600,000, that's like a round number, but this is the actual number. So each bris was done with all of us. So that's 600,000, 600, 600 and 600, 6,000, 650. Why can't I figure this out? 600 and 500, 600,000, 500, 3,000, right. 600,000, 3,000, 603,550. That's the number. 603,550. That's how many people actually came out of Mitzrayim. And each one of us had a 48 brisim on each mitzvah. So that's how much we have altogether. I'm a Rebbe. Rabbi Shimon, he argues on this Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda ish kfar, and he says a little different. Amar Rebbe Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda ish kfar akish Amar Mishum Rabbi Shimon ein lecha. He says that he's learning up his. He's saying it a little differently in the way he learns in. Ein lecha mitzvahs u'mitzvahs shebatayra shaloi nichasu ala arba'am u'shmayna brisa shel sheish meis elav v'shloishes alafim v'chamesh meis v'chamishim mitzvah chal echad v'echad misol sheish meis elav v'shloishes alafim v'chamesh meis v'chamishim. No, and he repeats that number that it's nachamol. So he has to times it again. Basically, it's 603,550 squared. My benai, what is he saying? Why do you have a whole nother round? Amar Misharsha, Arva v'Arva, the Arva Ikru Benayim. Whether the reason why we all have compounded, the reason why each bris for each person isn't just what it's not just for them. In other words, we have 48. Every person that was by Matan Torah had 48 brisim on each mitzvah. So it's 48 brisim on each mitzvah for Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, right? Each person. But because we're all Arabim, so it's not just Reuven doesn't get just his; he gets all of them. So that's why it's 603,550 times 48,000, because each one has all of them nechlas. So it's right now. The question is, Rebbe also holds that there's also a din of arvis on the arvis. So if I'm not fulfilling my arvis, someone else has a chiyuv to fulfill my chiyuv of arvis. Not only that he has his own chiyuv of arvis, but he has my chiyuv of arvis. So therefore, it gets squared. That's the basics. I hope that was clear because I can't say that I have 1,000 in my head, but I think I got enough. Dr. Marvaika, Darshav Yehuda, Marnachmeni, Miturgamane, the Rab Shimon Lakish. Kala Pasha Kulu Nema Alba the knife and Afis. This whole all the callers were said only by an adulterer and an adulteress. Arur Ha'isha Shiyasa Pesa U'Masecha. So ba'arer sagile, if it's talking about actual avodah zarah, is it enough that they just get cursed? Elazah ba'a arva v'hayil ben v'halach leben the b'halach in this son because he's a mamzadol, he doesn't have a place, and he can't get a normal seat in shul. He runs out. He goes out to the. Why is he calling me? He goes out amongst the goyim. So in other words, they didn't do it. Obviously, they did the ma'aseh that they did, and that they have to deal with. But in other words, they're called that they created this pesel because they had what to do with it. So for that they get a curse. What's the pasuk reiterating? What's the pasuk I'm reiterating over here? To say that the bracha goes first. First, maybe I would think that all the brachas were said before the kalas. So it says, it's not only one bracha and one klala, it's a bunch of them. So to teach us that only one bracha goes before the one klala, and then the next klala, and then the next bracha, right? So first a bracha, then a klala, then a bracha, then a klala, then a bracha, then a klala. That's why it says it again in Lashon Yachid, and to teach you that it goes first, but not all of them go first. It's one and one. And it's to be it's to make a hekesh and to learn out a bunch of other halachas and as follows. Each of these nekudas have apply to both. So they have all these halachas out. Kol Ram, Lashon Kodesh has to be by Levium. You have to be mefaret each one. You have to make a klal for each one, and you have to. They have to say amen by each one. Dr. Mishnah Vayter, new Mishnah. Birchas Kahanim Chetza. What do we? How does Birchas Kahanim done? The Medina throughout Eretz Yisrael and the Chayra Chutzah. It's also Aimer Eisa Shalish Brachas. We say 3 brachas. What does that mean? Well, it's bracha achas. But they don't only say the first bracha. I don't. What do I not know about her now? All of a sudden, wow! I said a bit. Wow! What's the bracha of Birchas Kahanim?
It's just got a
Yivach Hashem v'yishmach Hashem panu v'lach v'kanech v'yisa Hashem panu v'kanech v'yisa Hashem. So you don't just make the first bracha. You just in Mikdash you just say one long bracha. We don't answer amen in Mikdash stam. So there's no hefsek. So it's one long bracha. That's the part. It's not that you only say the first pasuk. Yivach Hashem v'yishmach. The Mikdash Aimer as Hashem Kiksava. You say the Yud K Vav K. We're talking about Kiksava, which we don't even understand what that means today. Okay, so we said in Medina it's Shalish brachas. You interrupt each one with an amen, each pass with an amen. The Mikdash bracha actually say one because you don't say amen. The Mikdash stam. The Mikdash amen as Hashem Kiksavai. But Medina Bekina. But chutzah and outside the Mikdash you say it. You say Hashem or whatever Ad Hashem. The Medina Chayanim Noisin Sedeim Keneged Kispeim. They pick it up to the shoulders. The Mikdash Agabi Reishem and Mikdash because the Shechina is more available or realized there, then they pick their hands up higher. He doesn't put his hand higher than the tzitz. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, because it says Hashem's name on it, so you don't want to put your hand higher than Hashem's name. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, he also raises his hand higher than the tzitz. Now, Shenemar Vayisa Aaron as Yodav Elam Vayivachin. This pasuk, it means whatever. That's a tight shit that Aaron Akain raised his hands and benched the am. It's a big machlekes for showing them if the pasuk is a riot of Yehuda that he raises his hand higher, which the chayra is not so pashut how you get a riot from there, or it's just in general to know that Nesias Kapayim is done. Is that Birchas Kahanim needs Nesias Kapayim? It's a little bit not so geshmak. Either one has its issues, obviously, and that's why it's machlekes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be any fun. But it's just interesting to when I first learned it, I was like, well, what shaykh is this pasuk? Shows me that Aaron Akain raised his hands higher. You don't see that he raised his hand higher than everything else. What shaykh is Rabbi Yehuda's halacha? So Takai saw in the Masifta that there's a lot of shittas back and forth. Taisis Zamtiv asked this, and according to the Ramban, the Ramban holds that it is a raya Ein Sham in the Masifta, or So the Gemara, Tan Rabban Kaisav Archu B'Lashon Kodesh. After I'm Lashon Kodesh, I ain't Ele B'Chalashon. Kaisav How do you know that means Lashon Kodesh? Maybe it means any Lashon. Never Kam Kaisav Archu V'Nemer Alan Eliam Levarich is by the Levium. It says also Levarich. Mal Alan Lashon Kodesh. Av Kam Lashon Kodesh. Just like we know by Levium because it says call from Amat and Taira. We also say that Lashon Kodesh by the Birchas Kahanim. Or Yehuda Aimer and Itzarech. We already had Rabbi Yehuda over here that says Havehu Aimer Kai. He learns on Lashon Kai and Kacha from Chalitza. He says anytime it says Kai and Kacha and Aina, Ainin, like a Lashon of Ismani, is talking about Lashon Kodesh. So if Yehuda does not need the Gzeir Shabbat. Tiny Idach, another limit on Birchas Kahanim. Kai Zvarach Ba'amida. Has to be Ba'amida out of Ba'amida and Ayala. If it'll be yeshiva, maybe it could be even sitting. Never can Kai Zvarach Ba'amida Eli Yam Levarich. Again, talking about the Levium. Malam Ba'amida Avkan Ba'amida. Rabbi Aimer and Etzarech Hareyu Aimer. The Sharsa Levarich B'Shmai. They have to. They're serving and benching in his name. Ma Misharis Ba'amida. Avkan Ba'amida. I don't need the Gzeir Shabbat to the clause, the brachas in the clause. I have from Minei Ubei. It says the sharis levarich, and just like sharis to serve all the in the basement has to be done standing. So too the bracha has to be the bracha. Brachas kahanim has to be b'amida. For tomorrow, misharis gufei mina. How do I know by itself that misharis has to be done b'amida? The chsiv la'amoid v'l'sharis that Moshe in his time the Levium that Hashem picked you guys to serve, not every shevet, just you guys to serve, and the lashon that he says is lamed v'l'sharis. You see the sharis is do b'amida. Tani idach kaisav archu b'nesis kapayim at oim b'nesis kapayim kaisav archu. What does that mean? B'nesis kapayim. You have to raise your hands. You don't just bench the kaisav this with your hands folded in your pockets. At oim b'nesis kapayim ela shaloi b'nesis kapayim. Maybe even with your hands down. Shenema kan kaisav archu b'nemar alon v'yisa aharin es yadav el ha'am v'yivarchim. See, Malahalon b'nesis kapayim, Avkan b'nesis kapayim. Kashlei Rabbi Yonason. That's the post that we brought down. So it's very interesting. That's why that was my problem. Like, how do you say that the pasuk? Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Hello. Hi, Tzadik. I'm in a little share. Can I call you back in like 10 minutes? Yeah. I love you. Okay. So yeah, we bring it down over here is to bring it that it's a Kapayim. So why would the Gemara ask if we already had it in the Mishnah? That was my problem with this, with saying that the Nesis Kapayim, that the last pasuk in the Mishnah is talking about just the general rule of Nesis Kapayim. Okay. Afkam Nesis Kapayim. Kasha leila Rabbi Yonason imal alam kayin gadol v'reish chaydish v'aved tzibur. Afkam kayin gadol v'reish chaydish v'aved tzibur. I can only learn out from that case. If you bring me right from that pasuk from Aaron Kain, it has to be the Kain Gadol, it has to be a Rishchad, it has to be a carbon zibur. But that's not what we're trying to take it to every Birchas Kahanim. Mechdes. And it's I don't need the Gezer Shova. Harehu Aimer Hu Ubanav Kol Yamim Makish Banav Light Mahu Benesis Kapayim Af Banav Benesis Kapayim Siv Kol Yamim VeIskash Bracha L'Shavus, and it's being Makish Bracha to serving. So it's in other words, it's always, so it's not just Rishvaylish and it's not just Bakar Mitzvah, and so that's what he, that's his lima. And it's because bracha the shayra, so bracha and you learn it out from the hekesh of bracha and serving, and the aim is shiva al hekesh. You could ask on the Gezer Shova sometimes, but we don't ask on the hekesh. The tiny idach, another few lines, and we'll wrap it up. Maybe you could just say Hashem's name also, just like the way we say it in the Shem Adnos in the Mikdash. I'm learning the Samu as Shemi Hamayuchadli. Use my name, the name that only I have. In other words, the lashon adnos, even though of course when we say Ad Hashem, we're referring to this is probably the bad. What does it mean? The name that only refers to me, or Hashem's name only referred to him. But you talk to your boss. You could say Adoni, right? In Eretz Yisrael, everyone's Adoni. And not everyone's a Yud Kevavke. You don't just walk around saying Yud Kevavke. That's not a lashon that's used in what's even Elohim is used as a bezdin. There's other names of Hashem that are used in other ways. Elohim is even used for Avedizar, Elohim Acherim. So the Shmi, that's my name, Hashem means the Yud Kevavke. I just thought of that now. I didn't have what I mean before. I just went, yeah. Maybe it should even be done like that, even outside the basement. The Shemar Khan is the Samwa Shmi, the Nemal Alam, Lasam Shemai Sham. When it's referred the Lotzim as Shemai Sham is talking as Shemi Sham. What's the pasuk? We change it over here. Hold on. Some Shemi Abnei Yisrael Bani Avachem. Zaykim Alamakam Shayif Hashem Lekechem. We call it Lotzim as Shemai Sham. I don't know what they're adding over here. Okay, that's referring to the Beit Bechira, and it's talking about Hashem's name. So too, when it's Hashem's name, when it says the Samar Shemi, it means only in the Beit Hamikdash. Allah Beit Bechira, I've come Beit Bechira. Rabbi Yoshi Amar, Eini Torah. I don't need this title. Why? I don't need this drasha. Hareyu Aimer B'chol Hamakim Asher Aske Shemi Avayalecha. Wherever you mention my name, I'm going to come to you. B'chol Hamakim Sakadadik. Wherever you mention Hashem's name, is going to come to you. Ela Mikra Zeh Messiah. It's hafuch. Wherever I am coming to you to bench you, that's what you should my name, which is only the base of Bechira. Hashem, again, Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem is everywhere. That's everyone knows this Uncle Maishi. But what does that mean? There's a whatever that means of Ashray Hashchina. The way I think the Baal Tanya, the way Hashem, sometimes he describes this idea of a concentration of a likus in some area is like the sun is not the sun doesn't shine less indoors and outdoors. In other words, the sun isn't shining less if it's cloudy outside. My ability to be nana from the sun is blocked, but the sun is no change. So Hashem is Hashem. In the base of Achira, there's just less klipa, less blockages, and we get a more direct sense of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But not that Hashem's in one place. We had a Gemara that Hashem's only in one place primarily. But again, I think it's the same idea that Hashem allows His presence to be felt in one place. But Chalila, Klape, Shmaya, everything is Ephes anyway. So there's no difference over there. But for us to experience HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Muncie or Lahav the Lakewood and the Beis of Achira, it's a whole different program. Where am I going to show up and bench you? The Beis of Achira, that's what it is. Shama ask Shemi, the Beis of Achira. That's where you should mention my name. That's going to Beis of Achira, where I show up. Again, the pasuk seems to be the other way, right? The pasuk seems to be wherever you mention my name, I'm going to show up. But really, it's lahafuch. It's wherever I'm supposed to be. Wherever I am, that's where you should mention name. Tani idach, one more shtickle. Kaisavach is b'nei Yisrael, ainli ela b'nei Yisrael, game v'nashim v'avadim, v'shachar minayin, tamadlam, amar lehem, v'kulu, a kaisavach b'nei Yisrael, amar lehem. Tanya idach, kaisavach, panim connected panim, you should be facing the kahanim. My father was always very makbid to push me straight, the should face Berachas kahanim when I was a kid underneath the talis. Ata oimer, panim connected panim, ainli ela, panim connected ayir. Maybe you should take a face, maybe you should go back. Tamadlam, amar, maybe your back should face the kain. When you talk to your friend, you don't talk to the back of his neck, you talk to his face. In a projecting his voice. Thank you very much. Baruch Hashem, we got to the bottom of and we were only about and a half behind schedule. We're going to be mashlim over the next week or two, and we will be able to make a siyum on time.